The Palestinians are one of the only people in the world without citizenship. Most of them don't have any citizenship whatsoever of any country in the world. Imagine yourself, people without any citizenship. We have to go to the one-state solution, and this is about changing the regime between the river and the sea from an apartheid state into a democracy.
90% of Gaza's population has been displaced. 90% of the 2.3 million people, some 60,000 people have been wounded, and still everything is under attack. Hospitals, schools, places of worship, refugee camps, nothing is being spared, even ambulances.
Israel is not a foreign policy issue as far as the United States is concerned. It is an integral part of their domestic politics. The great weapon that is utilized on behalf of Israel is any criticism of Israel is considered anti-Semitic, and the badge of anti-Semitism is the kiss of death.
Netanyahu on record has said that there won't be a Palestinian state on my watch.
The majority of Israelis want to replace him, but not in the middle of the war. They don't expect too much from those who might replace him. The change will not be dramatic when it comes to the Palestinian question. The notion you just mentioned that the people without the land came to a land without people was the biggest lie of Zionism, because it was a people without a land who came to a land with a people.
Welcome to Let's Talk About Israel and Palestine. We're here in the Let's Talk About series to discuss the Israel-Palestine conflict. The kind of violence we have seen, we haven't seen in a long time. Most people of generation, I'd say Gen Z, millennials, haven't seen this ever. This is the most violent they have ever seen the region.
In different circumstances, I would suggest the two-state solution. What is more just than this? What is more logical than this? The problem is that we miss this opportunity. My vision is obviously the other possible solution, and that's the one-state solution. Now, we cannot return this wheel backwards. I mean, it's already a fait accompli. So the only way to deal with it is to compromise and to take accountability for what we have done to them in 1948 by taking most of their land from their hands.
Earlier, he was admired as the magician, the guy who could manipulate politics to his advantage. Not anymore. Today, you know that the entire war, the ferocity of the war and the mass killing has no strategic purpose at all. It is entirely to prolong the conflict so that the day of reckoning for Netanyahu and the generals doesn't occur. But the point is they have made Gaza into a prison. People have called it the largest prison in the world.
Absolutely.
But do recall, certain Israelis have called it the largest concentration camp in the world.
My father had nowhere to go. He was for half a year in an illegal boat in the Mediterranean, deported from every port. They have nowhere to go. Half a year in a boat, 600 people, all of them refugees from Europe. They had nowhere to go. No country would accept them. So finally, he landed illegally in Palestine. We cannot blame him. He didn't know anything, neither about Zionism nor about the Muslims, the Arabs who lived here.
And Netanyahu on record has said that there won't be a Palestinian state on my watch. And I myself have talked to Israeli diplomats and policymakers who have said that no, Palestine will never have an army. Palestine will never have control over its airspace, will never have control over its waters. And Hamas, whether you like Hamas or not, Hamas is now the most powerful pillar of Palestinian national movement. You may not like them. They are using violence, true, but this is a ground reality. Your opinion may not change the ground reality.
Even the more rational people, people who usually are not reactionary in their responses to stuff, have dug in their heels very firmly that there is one good guy and one bad guy. That may be true in the specific case of Netanyahu versus, the civilians and the children of Palestine. But in the larger context, is it that simple? Or is it way more complicated than that?
Israel is not a foreign policy issue as far as the United States is concerned. It is an integral part of their domestic politics. The great weapon that is utilized on behalf of Israel is any criticism of Israel is considered anti-Semitic, and the badge of anti-Semitism is the kiss of death.
Israel never really had an intention, a genuine intention, to let the Palestinians a state equally like Israel. If you will offer the Palestinians a democratic state where they will be equal to their Jewish neighbors, I don't see why would they disagree. If you will convince the Israelis that their security will be guaranteed, why wouldn't they change? I mean, it will not happen in one day.
You know, from President Biden to Israeli leaders to Indian leaders, everyone says they all support two-state solution. But what could be a two-state solution means you need to have an independent, sovereign Palestinian state. And the problem here is that Israel is perhaps the only country which doesn't have a clearly demarcated border in the world.
Netanyahu did a very Faustian bargain. To remain in power, he worked with the extreme right wing. Extreme right wing in Israel is as bad as or worse than the Islamic State. Netanyahu turned to them to stay in power because he was afraid that if he is not prime minister, he's in jail.
Many analysts would say that he also is doing so because of his personal political career, because the longer the war continues, the longer his career continues, because once the war will be over, he might be pushed out. I give him more credit than this. I don't think that's the only consideration. This war will not get anything good, neither for Palestinian, obviously not, but also not for Israel. Nobody will gain from this war. And the sooner it stops, the better it is.